Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. Just a reminder, this webinar is recorded, so if some of you are joining late, the marketing team will send it out in the links to the recording in the next couple of days. So today I'm going to cover a couple of the newer products from Microsoft and look at their licensing. Not the easiest of licensing for them, so we'll go ahead and have a look. So first of all, let's look at Fabric and what is it? So what Fabric is, it's an all-in-one analytics platform. The platform isn't new, but the products in the platform isn't new, but the integration between all of them into one single platform is new. So if we look at what's in here, we can then try and see how it helps you with your data analytics. So as you can see, there's several components in there. We'll start with data engineering. Now, this allows for large-scale data transformation, and it uses the lakehouse to store your data, pipelines, and batch processing for you to carry out these transformations. And this allows you to get your data ready for your analysis. The data factory, this uses Power Query and Azure Data Factory to ingest data, so to get data in from multiple resources for you to analyze. Data science then, this uses machine learning to create machine learning models that provide predictive analysis on what will happen in the future for you to use in your BI reports. The data warehouse gives you basically industry-leading SQL performance and scaling for your solutions. The real-time analytics, well, this allows you to get real-time analysis of streaming data from such things as IoT devices, so to give you analysis in real time of what's going on. And then finally, hopefully a lot of you are aware of this, it's Power BI. So Power BI works with Fabric to create the visualizations for your data. So for more information of what's going on with Fabric and to learn more, Mark will drop a link in, which is on this slide, which has got a lot of information on how Fabric can be used. So as we saw from the previous slide, Fabric works alongside Power BI. And there is some confusion out there as to whether Fabric is going to replace Power BI. And the simple answer is no. Power BI and Fabric can work together, or you can use Power BI on its own. And if you don't want to visualize your data, then you can use Fabric on its own if you want. The reason you can use Power BI on its own is that Power BI itself can ingest data from multiple sources. You can transform your data, you can model your data ready for the visualization directly in Power BI. You would use Fabric if your requirements are a little bit more complex than what Power BI offers you on its own. So, you can go for Fabric, you can go for Power BI, or you could have a combination of both. And it depends on your particular requirements. So just to recap Power BI licensing, you have Power BI Pro, which allows you to publish dashboards and reports into workspaces in the cloud. To view those, you also need a Power BI Pro license. Then there's Power BI Premium Capacity. This gives you additional functionality, including things like faster refresh rates for your data and things like that. And Power BI Premium Capacity also means that you don't need Power BI Pro to view those reports, but Power BI Premium doesn't come cheap. So what Microsoft have done, you have Power BI Premium per user, and that gives you things like the additional refresh rates. But by buying it for each user that needs to view the reports, it obviously becomes a more cost-effective solution. Now, premium capacity, P1 and above, which some of you are using, will be replaced by Fabric. So Power BI Pro and Power BI Premium will, per user, will stay, but Power BI Premium capacity will be replaced by Fabric. So just something to bear in mind. So when I said no to whether Fabric is replacing Power BI, in the case of Power BI Premium, it actually does. There's also Power BI Pro in A5 licenses, which a lot of you have. So you can use that on its own or use it with Fabric if you want as well. Okay, so how do you buy Fabric? Well, it's licensed on a consumption basis from Azure. So basically, you would set up Fabric and use a particular SKU that you wanted from F2 all the way up to F2048. And the difference in these SKUs is the amount of compute resources that are allocated to your environment. Okay, so you set up Fabric with a particular SKU, and then you keep it running to see. As you can see, there's a trial version there. It's basically a trial at an F64 level. This trial gives you 90 days to try out Fabric and try it for your solution to see if it is what you need. Okay, and the trial version is at F64 level, which is equivalent to the P1 offering for premium capacity in Power BI. So you pay for the amount of capacity you use. With the P1 and above, sorry, F64 and above, you do not need to buy Power BI Pro licenses to view the capacity, the same as it is with Power BI Premium capacity. However, because you get all the additional functionality within Fabric on top of Power BI Premium capacity, there is an uplift in cost, so something to be aware of. So a good idea would be to run the trial, see what sort of capacity your applications need, and then you could possibly go for a lower Fabric capacity if that is enough for your needs, because it will save on costs. Now, because Fabric is replacing Power BI Premium capacity, Microsoft have put a transition plan into place. Now, any new customers cannot buy Power BI premium capacity after the 1st of July 2024. If you're an existing Power BI premium capacity customer, but you're running it without an EES agreement on CSP, for instance, you can renew up until the 1st of January 2025. And then after that, your only option is to switch to Fabric, or you could go for just Power BI premium per user, if that's all your requirement is. But we can speak to you and work out what might be the best solution in your instance. Then if you've got Power BI premium capacity on an existing EES agreement, you can again renew until the 1st of January 25, but you can also renew after that. You can also renew at any anniversary dates after that as well. So you've got a bit longer to transition. Now, the migration from Fabric to Power BI Premium isn't automatic. Okay, so you have to individually move workspaces from within Power BI Premium into workspaces in Fabric. And you have 90 days to do that. So something to be aware of: if you migrate into Fabric, you have 90 days to actually physically move your environment over. Then Power BI Premium Capacity version gave you a Power BI report server license that you could run. That isn't in Fabric, but you can run it if you have got a SQL Server Enterprise Edition license. Okay, and obviously, if Fabric isn't for you, there's still the Power BI Premium per user or Power BI Pro offerings that are available as well. Okay, so that was Fabric. Moving on to CoPilot Studio. So when we consider CoPilot Studio, there are two types of CoPilot Studio that you can license. So some of you have seen this architecture before, and this is for CoPilot for Microsoft 365. And you have CoPilot Studio for Microsoft 365 included in that license. So if we look at this architecture, just as a reminder, let me see how this looks. A bit on the fast side, but in this corner down here, that's your ChatGPT large language model. In the top left-hand side over here, that's you sitting at your laptop. Down here, this is the Microsoft Graph, which knows what data you get access to. And then the large white line here, all the way around, represents the Office 365 tenancy, meaning that your data and all your work is kept safe within Office 365. But there are two other pieces of this. You've got plugins. Now, CoPilot Studio for Microsoft 365 allows you to develop plugins which gives CoPilot for Microsoft 365 access to data outside of your tenancy. Yeah, so you can develop your own plugin using CoPilot Studio for Microsoft 365. Then right below that, in this section here, there's connectors, and connectors are used to connect to external data again, but they're more powerful in that they will teach your semantic index as well, what data you access, what your writing style is, all of that stuff, and you can create those in connectors, again using Microsoft CoPilot Studio for Microsoft 365. Now, CoPilot Studio from Microsoft 365 is included in your license. When you buy CoPilot from Microsoft 365, you get CoPilot Studio for Microsoft 365 in there. So anybody with that license can develop these connectors and use these connectors as well. Okay, then there's CoPilot Studio. Now, this is for developing your own chatbot or chat experiences. It's not a new product. It's a rebranding of Power Virtual Agents, which was available as part of the Power App Suite. Now, Power Virtual Agents has been rebranded, but it's also been enriched with ChatGPT functionality. So for CoPilot Studio, you firstly need a CoPilot Studio license for the tenancy that you're working in, and you buy one license to cover your whole tenancy. Then there are free licenses for developers. So anybody who needs to develop these solutions needs a license, but they are free of charge within the tenancy. On top of that, your tenancy license gives you access to a capacity of 25,000 build messages per month. Now, if you go over the limits of these build messages, Microsoft use a fair use policy. So if you're just over, they'll carry on and not work and carry on working fine. If you go way over, you'll get a message to get additional build message licenses. Now, if you don't get those licenses, it will eventually stop you going over those 25,000 licenses. Now, so what's a build messages? So if we look over here, there are some examples. So if, for instance, your CoPilot or chat application provides a welcome message to an user, that's one build message. If that user asks your application, an example is if your shop is open or if your school is open on a particular day, that is standard information you've probably built in, and that will be one build message. However, if you go and ask the bot whether it is open on a particular day, like Christmas Day or Easter, for example, CoPilot might have to try and work out if you're open on that day or not. So that would then need Gen AI to create that answer, and that would correspond to 2 build messages. So that's CoPilot. So 2 options, CoPilot for Microsoft 365 and CoPilot Studio. CoPilot for security was released on the 1st of April this year. Now, 1st of April this year, it's become available, and it's available as an Azure subscription. So it's available as an Azure subscription. So all you need to run CoPilot for security is you need an Azure subscription, which you can get through us, and you need Entra ID, so Azure AD, which you will all have. And then you probably need to be running Defender for Microsoft 365, so your Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Security, Defender for Identity, and may run things like Intune and Sentinel to get the most out of this. So CoPilot for Security then will give you the ability to find issues quicker, help you put together scripts to get an issue sorted quicker, and to help you find vulnerabilities quicker as well. So that's the purpose of CoPilot for Security. And as I said, it's available as part of an Azure subscription. Now, your Azure subscription will allow you to add what are called security compute units into your CoPilot for Security solution. Now, security compute units refer to a certain amount of resource that is assigned to CoPilot for Security. Now, CoPilot for Security, Microsoft recommend that you use at least 3 of these security compute units to have a reasonable response. But 1 is the minimum to keep CoPilot for Security running. Okay. Now, these SKUs or security compute units costs, I think it's about £3 a month, £3-ish. So per SKU. So, you know, if in a month and you're running 3 SKUs, you're looking about 6 or 7 grand a month, and you're looking about 85 grand a year to get a reasonable level of performance for your CoPilot security. But there's no user licensing, it's a platform license that you use. But if you want to reduce costs at particular times, you can go down to 1 SKU to keep the costs down a little bit. Just finishing off with a little bit of other news from Microsoft. Some of you may have heard last autumn that there were new SKUs coming out for Microsoft 365 without the Teams client. Now, that was just for the European Union, so those SKUs didn't affect the rest of the world. Well, there's been a bit of news recently that's saying that those non-Teams client SKUs are becoming available worldwide for everybody, not just in the European Union. So that is happening, but it's not coming to education and government tenancies. So wait and see if it comes there. But at the moment, if you read about this, it's not going to affect you at this time. Another thing slightly outside of Microsoft, you may be aware that VMware has been taken over by Broadcom. Now, one of the effects of this is that the pricing has gone up. And some of you are looking at whether a different solution might help. Well, one thing you can consider is your Windows Server licenses. It includes Hyper-V, which is a very capable hypervisor that you can use, and it's already included in your Windows Server licenses. If you want to check if you've got enough Windows Server licenses, just speak to your account managers. If you want to manage these, then you've got System Center Virtual Machine Manager licenses for additional management of your Hyper-V estate. And of course, if you're up for a hardware refresh, you could consider moving VMs into Azure. So when you're looking at VMware licensing and your renewal is coming up, just have a look at whether you've got other options there.